DJ General Mills.
Man, this is breaking news. Doc Rivers left. I guess it was, I don't even know if it was a left. According to them, they said it was a mutual agreement to part ways. I'm gonna be honest with you. I love Doc as a coach. Doc is he's a Chicago kid. I love Doc as a coach. I just don't know. I think Doc, it was just too many expectations for Doc, and I think he is a great coach. I just don't know if he was ever going to be able to live up to those expectations. Doc was at LA for 10 years almost. He left Boston and he immediately went to LA, and they had them a really solid team with DeAndre, with Blake Griffin, with CP3, Jamal Crawford. They had a very solid team that in that time, back then, in that West, they should have been a lot more solid than what they was. And it didn't. It didn't work out. And a lot of people said, well, it was the pieces. It was the pieces that were put together. They needed a bigger point guard or shooting guard. They need somebody who was just a main shooter, because Blake Griffin was great in the post. DeAndre was great in the post. CP3 was great. They needed a good 3-man. Jamal Crawford was an amazing 6-man. They just needed somebody who was going to be that lead shooter, who was going to be able to come out, give them, boom, boom, boom every week. And they never had it. So that was always the statement for the first team. This year, when they picked up Kawhi Leonard, when they got Paul George, they got Lou Williams, who's probably one of the best 6-man to ever play in the game. He should have been starting somewhere. They had Harrell on the team as well. They had a very solid team. And everybody knows when you play in the playoffs, the deeper that your bench is, which basically means when your team is great, when your team is solid, your bench needs to be 9-10 players deep. It basically means when the starting 5 leave the floor and the bench players come in, that next 5 that's up, the second string, they need to be just as good as that first string. So it's just unfortunate because their expectations were through the roof, and they were never going to meet them. They were never going to meet them. Never. They were never going to meet them. I know that this would have changed things if they would have went to the Western Conference Finals and at least saw the Lakers in 7, but they went to 7 with the Nuggets, and the Lakers beat the Nuggets in 5, which basically means that the Lakers were just going to be an all-out better team. It was too much expectations. Plus, on top of that, Doc had been there for 10 years, and they had never gotten to a conference finals. To this day, the Clippers have never made it to a Western Conference final. And they talk about it right here. That's been 50 years. So it's unfortunate that Doc has to go through this. And let me move my head, because I'm just that's not my head. How do I move my head? There's my head. Doc was all in the way, for this. I think Doc is in the way. I think it was Doc, unfortunately. And I like Doc. You put Doc on any other team where the expectation's not so big, Doc is leading the team to a championship. His coaching style leads you to a championship. He just comes from that coaching background. So it just sucks that he had to be put up here. But at the exact same time, when you're presented Kawhi Leonard, fresh off of a championship run, Paul George, who, he doesn't really show up in the playoffs, but overall is probably one of a top 50 player in the league, easily. I might even give him top 20. I think top 20 is easy as well. Top 15, easy, I think, as well. It just, it depends on what your argument is. You got those guys, Western Conference Finals should have been minimum. I think about the same thing about when the Heat picked up Chris Bosh and LeBron James. Eric Spoelstra, who's that team coach, they don't make it to the finals that first year, they're getting rid of him. because you should not. There's no way you don't make it to the finals, or at least the conference finals, with that roster. You just don't. You just, man. And they didn't even make it to they only made it to the semifinals and got beat by a Denver Nuggets team after they were up 3-1. If you are up 3-1 on a 5th seed team, you close that game out straight up and down. And it's easier said than done. I've never played professional basketball, so I understand how tough that is, but you close that out. That's why I'm not a professional basketball player. You close that out straight up and down. Straight up and down. I don't care. Straight up and down. Close that game out. So it's unfortunate. It really is. It really is unfortunate. We'll see what happens. Like, I'm just going to always look at Doc and be like, all right, man, like, you know, like, I love Doc. Truthfully, I really do love Doc. So, man, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
DJ General Mills.